We watched Jumanji. We watched Jumanji. We watched Jumanji and we felt it wasn't very good. Ba ba da ba 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 da ba. Relive the glory days when you sat around with your friends and talked about Jumanji. So we're all gathered in EJ and Shay's place. We didn't go to the bar because it was noisy and we're doing an earlier screening today. And I think before we even touch on anything that, we're actually going to talk about, I feel like what we've really noticed is it's a tough walk home when you've got a lot to say and you have to get it all on mic. Welcome back to Hurd Ya Saw. It's 2018, first podcast of the new year. I am joined by not quite the full crew. We are absent Sean Narborough today because he has to work, and we have just watched Jumanji. Now,
welcome to the jungle.
Oh yes.
Let's not confuse the two.
We've got fun and games. So I know that we all have a lot of feelings about this movie, but as is tradition, we will begin with our usual round of one-line hot takes. I'm trying to think. Who looks like their soul is the most departed from their body? I mean, Morton's pretty far out in front.
I have a head start every day, though.
I feel like... I don't know how... I know you fell asleep, EJ.
But I didn't.
Racy, this is your second time for seeing the film, is it not?
No, what?
Yeah.
Why?
So I feel like as the person who's gone in on this the most...
Why?
Racy, your one-line hot take.
I didn't think time could actually slow down. It did.
Okay.
That was the longest. What are you doing? 2 hours.
You were the Nick Jonas of our viewing experience.
Yeah. I've been in there
right,
for 20
Jonas?
years.
What is a Jonas?
Oh God, it's the guy. Nick Jonas showed up halfway through and was like, "I'm a pilot."
That was a Jonas?
That was the youngest Jonas, except for the bonus Jonas, who doesn't count.
Okay.
Nick is going to repeat his earlier statement from the film now, just going, I feel old.
Oh yeah, that was like right near the beginning when they're like, oh, Instagram selfie culture, totally tubular, not to, I'm old.
You are
Sorry,
old.
this is not, that's not my one-line hot take. Shay, one-line hot take.
Watching Jumanji, your brain will rot. A good film. This is not.
Oh yeah, rhyming couplets, very nice. Morton?
I didn't think anything could be worse than Zathura.
Oh, I've not even seen Zathura because I saw that coming out and just thought, nah, I don't need to.
Compared to that.
Why didn't you think that this time?
Because I have a podcast now. I don't do it because I love film. I do it for the sick views and all the endorsement money we're gonna get from fucking nobody.
HelloFresh. Sponsor us.
Huh?
HelloFresh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want them to sponsor us.
Oh. HelloFresh.
Audible, very good.
Audible,
Very good
please.
what
We're
you're
like
Oh,
books
yeah.
that you can listen to except without any of the plotting. EJ, your one-line hot take. It can't just be sleep noises.
Sean came out on top on this one.
Yeah. My being absent. Oh. My one-line hot take. I regret the things that I said to the good folks of Genesis who were working on the kiosk when they said, "Oh, but Jack Black is funny." And I may have overreacted in the foyer quite loudly when I nipped out to get another cider. So, who would like to begin with their thoughts? EJ.
Don't I have to say
Oh yeah,
plot?
EJ, please recap the plot.
Okay, this is gonna be tough because I did fall asleep, and
I
then
feel like
also I left
You
on
didn't
purpose.
miss much.
I feel like not a
So-
lot happens in this movie.
Correct. So, Jumanji was already a thing, and so we all know what it is. It's a game, and you get trapped in it now. So basically, it starts off in 1996, and there's a kid who finds Jumanji on a beach.
Well, his dad does.
His dad finds it on a beach.
The end of the original is that they throw it in the river and it does wash away into
Yeah.
the sea, so that was okay.
Yeah, so they found it on a beach, and then it was a board game, but now it magically turned itself into a video game because modernization, even though this film was made in the
I missed that the
90s.
first time.
Because they just couldn't be asked to plot it in any other way. Like, why not just have it found by a games designer?
No,
Okay, we'll get to that.
That's too
so
intelligent.
Here's the first 5 minutes. So he starts playing, and then we flash forward into 2017, And for high school students,
Unlikely misfits, I would call them.
it starts off as the Breakfast Club, and then they all get sucked into a video game, and some of them swap genders. Oh, that's funny.
I hear
Black.
that's a joke.
Wow.
I hear that's a joke. That's what I'm hearing. That's what people are telling me. That it's funny.
It was more visual comedy.
You
were seeing that it was a joke.
Were you? It just seemed to be Jack Black acting like a Valley Girl, which I'm like, this is funny for about. And then you realise, oh god, there's going to be 2 hours of this.
Yeah.
Don't just tar him with the shitty stick.
I'm going to tar everybody. There's a lot of shit to go around.
There was The Rock being a nerd. There was Kevin Hart
There was a
Being
rock
him.
where
being something.
men shouldn't cry.
Was there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where was
I
that?
looked onto a Vista.
Oh, and he was all like, don't cry, don't cry.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't necessarily man. I didn't feel that was
they were like,
necessarily masculinity.
That's a real man right there, and then
Uh,
the
Yeah.
joke is.
Yeah, sorry, continue.
Okay, so basically, they are sucked into this video game, and there's 4 of them, and they have 3 lines on their wrists, which show that they have 3 lives, and some of them get, like, killed and then re-emerge or whatever. So, some dude stole a jewel from a panther's mouth, ear,
Jaguar
head,
statue.
sorry, jaguar, sure. And then they get given the jewel by a dude in a car.
A New
And then-
Zealand dude.
A New Zealand. Oh, that's what. Okay, sure. And then so they have the
Native
jewel,
Watch continues.
and they basically just wander around trying to find the statue thing to put the jewel back on the head, and they need to work together. And then Nick Jonas shows up halfway through and is like, "Hi, here's a sewer. I'm a pilot. Let's do this." And they're like, "You've been in the game for 20 years!" And then he falls in love with Jack Black, except more like Jack Black falls in love with him. And it's like funny because, sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
and-
my sides. They've split.
Yeah.
Oh.
So and then they like just make it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I left for like maybe 10 minutes because I was just like, "Fuck this film," and then there was still 20 minutes left. I was like,
It goes a bit Mummy Returns towards the end.
yeah. There's just it was fuck. It was so boring. It was so boring.
That was my main takeaway, that I was incredibly bored.
You didn't
I
have
was
to watch it
never.
twice.
No, why did you
interested.
come with
You-
us?
you
You could have
didn't
just
have
met
to
us
watch it.
You
after.
could have, yeah.
You
why
could have
did
taken a hot
spare
bubble
your
bath,
life?
like, you know.
I had a lot of deep thoughts during that movie.
Oh yeah? Please share some.
I
What it
thought
would be like
about
to have a penis.
no, I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
about
What it would be
I,
like to be cool.
I thought about reintroducing Australian native species into England.
Oh, yeah?
Like how the English would react to possums.
Do you have
we
angry
have
possums
possums.
or American monster possums?
No, our possums are cute until
Yeah.
you're like
Ours
really
are
close.
gross. They're like demons.
Yeah.
They did become demons, but they're cute first.
Oh, look at you.
So,
They're like gremlins if you feed them after midnight.
Yeah.
as much as I hate to drag us away from the important topic of possums, who's
Arguably more important.
who's got a take? Who wants to talk about this film? I mean,
I just don't understand how this is a kids' film on many levels.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, just like, aside from all the like hideous gender stuff and like just inappropriateness, like I felt old at times because I was like, kids should not be watching this. Like, but also just in the sense of that, like you say, it was so boring. Like, I can remember, I don't want to be one of those people that like puts a film on a pedestal because I've not watched Jumanji for quite a few years, but I can remember it's one of my earliest cinema memories of just being amazed, like when the tarantulas are on the wood and everything. There's no single moment in this that any child in that audience is going to go away and in like 20 years time be like, oh my
Wow!
god, Jumanji, welcome to the jungle, like it was so cool.
EJ, can you give us a
It's
wow?
No.
Can you give us a wow?
My soul's broken by this. I would like to
Oh.
point out
Yeah.
that the original Jumanji was filmed in New Hampshire.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
You have a plaque.
Represent.
Yeah.
Dude.
Nice.
There's like a mural or some shit.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I'm really pumped about it.
If I can put on my intellectual film guy hat for a moment, I did have an interesting train of thought. Wait, let me actually put on a hat. That'll really sell it for the audience. There we go.
Yeah,
All right.
There we go.
Thermal insulation.
Indeed, got to keep my brain warm while it's thinking all these big thoughts. The way my mind went, because obviously I tuned out of the plot very early because all of the characters are annoying, shitty teenagers who I didn't care about. Their problems seemed non-existent. That kid doesn't know how to play Street Fighter V or commentate his own playing of Street Fighter V. He's like, Zangief, parry! I'm like, Zangief hasn't hyper armor. It's not the same as a. Never mind. However, I was watching it and I was just like, this is actually an interesting intersection of video games and movies. Because a common criticism of video games is that they try to be too much like movies, and they're an interactive medium, and so borrowing narrative elements from a passive viewing experience makes them weaker, because it should be about the moment-to-moment gameplay. This film was like, hey, would you like the worst of both worlds? It's like... It's like the shallow, non-existent storytelling of a video game, but you're not playing it. So you have nothing going on.
That's true.
Yeah, it felt so... It felt like a badly written video game, which it was, but the problem is it's still a film, and you have to make it feel like
it's a badly written film as
Oh,
well.
yeah, no, exactly, but like, the standards for... the ways in which it was bad were video gamey, which are even worse when taken out of their native medium and just transposed into film. I mean, like, the whole lives thing. Like, I'm like, okay, cool, so we now know that nobody in the film is in danger at any point until they're all down to one life, and you know what? And I know this is kind of a cheap thing, because I'm always like, oh, you know no one's gonna die, and I'm like, well, yeah, because narrative tradition.
But like they do like disappear really gruesomely.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but not gruesomely enough. Because that would have been cool if
Yeah.
they actually made
Yeah,
them
but
really
It's a
gruesome.
kid's film
was a
as
kid's
well.
film, and
Yeah.
it's really
Definitely.
gruesome
Well,
for
it's
so-
kids.
I was
for
surprised that-
5-year-old.
I was surprised there was actually even one with blood. Like,
There was one with blood?
Yeah, she got
the last
shot.
one-
Blood.
No, there was only one with blood
No.
when she explodes.
No, and also when she got shot, she was
Oh.
all like, they got me, and then died.
Who got shot?
The Kung Fu lady.
The first
Karen
one.
Gillan.
The first time
Where was
she
Karen
died.
Gillan?
Yeah.
Ah! She
Oh,
she
I'd
one
already
hero?
zoned out when that first stuff happened. Like, that was when I was kind of like, oh, okay,
I was
yeah, they're
confused
using
by
that as
what
a...
her death was
plot.
at that point.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
realize. She was like, they got me, and I'm like, how? You jumped into the water and they
Yeah.
specifically didn't shoot at you.
You were like the first one to jump.
It's fine. She got hit, though.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad things from other films, in a way, that's a terrible segue. Oh, God. Who
We talked about
enjoyed...
Karen Gillan.
Uh,
Segue.
Oh yeah, no, here's my segue.
Another
I got a segue. Karen Gillan, also in the Marvel movies as Nebula. Speaking of Marvel movies, speaking of Thor 2, The Dark World, speaking of forgettable bad guys, how did people like the villain?
Was
See,
there a villain?
Okay,
Yeah.
this was my main problem with it. Jumanji.
Oh my god.
Jumanji, the original Jumanji, is not about a board game. It is about a boy's relationship with his father.
And also the kids' relationship.
And the
with
kids'
their
relationship.
lack of parents.
Yeah, with their lack of parents. So, like, that's what made it so much cooler, that, like, the hunter character in the original Jumanji is
Van Pelt.
also played by his dad.
Yeah.
So it was like, cool, okay, that villain actually represents something. This one just has fucking bugs crawling out of its face
Oh yeah. What?
for no apparent
Why?
reason.
He
It was
controls all of the animals.
No,
Okay,
because he
All
was...
of the animals, you put them
Yeah.
in your mouth
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
your ear because that's what looks cool.
The
No,
best
it's
way to
not
kill
animals.
people is lean in real close like you're going to kiss
Yeah,
someone,
that
and then
was like-
awkwardly cough a scorpion onto the back of their neck.
But this was the thing, the reason he's a bad villain is kind of like what you were saying as well. He's not a villain that is related to the film. He is the video game's villain.
Yeah, he's a boss.
Like,
Yeah.
They had to beat a boss.
He has nothing to do with them, and that's why this film was crap, because, like, the original one, again, not to, like, try and idolize it, but it was about stuff coming out of the game.
Yeah,
So you
the
cared-
fundamental inversion of
Yeah.
it being like, oh no, the board game is escaping into the real world,
So it's
and that
the real world
affects
at
my
stake
real
all
shit.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this one, it was just like, oh, they're trapped in a video game. They're gonna get out by the end of it. Maybe one of them will die, but if it is going to be one of them, it's going to be the one that's been missing for 20 years and no one really
Yeah.
cares anymore.
Poor
It's
Alex.
just,
He was just really stoked.
yeah,
Yeah,
It was
so
just-
stoked.
So stoked.
it
I've
was
seen
a
that so many
faceless.
times.
Well, that's why as well, like the original one, you're just like, okay, that's cool because I can imagine this happening in my town. When you're
Yeah.
a kid, you're like imagining that, you're relating to it. But for
Yeah.
this one, you're just like, okay, they're in a fucking jungle. They clearly went to Hawaii and just filmed it, and you're just like,
Yeah.
boring.
Throughout, I was just like, I think that was where they played golf in Lost.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it was totally
When
the
they-
Lost Island.
Yeah, no, when they first landed, I was just like, that is definitely where they make a golf course in Lost.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was thinking the same thing, and I was like, I'd rather be watching Lost right now.
Yeah.
Which season of Lost?
I
Only the
watched
first
all of
one.
them.
Any
the second
season.
one.
That's how
Second
But
Yeah,
bad this
also,
film
yeah,
was.
literally any
Yeah.
season. Oh God, you're
I'd
right.
watched a flash forward season
Oh
of it.
no!
Me too. That
Not
would be
Flash
better than this
Forward.
No,
bullshit.
the Flash Forward season of Lost.
Oh right, okay. I thought you meant the series Flash Forward, which was
I
a
did enjoy-
Lost knockoff.
I did enjoy that as
Oh.
well. I did enjoy Flash Forward.
Flash
as well.
Forward,
Flash Forward.
strong pilot. Then immediately they realise we have nothing.
A fucking kangaroo.
God.
See, also better than this film because it's a wild animal in a real world location,
Oh.
as opposed to.
I think one thing that me and Shay briefly discussed in the cinema,
Okay.
mid-film, podcasting on the go.
Oh yeah, as he pointed out, nobody hated you. in
No
this
one
film.
hated us in this. I mean,
No, that was my pointing out.
No, whoever pointed it out.
I think we came to the conclusion none of the actors are necessarily guilty of doing anything wrong.
No.
This was a script problem.
They're acting good for what the script is.
Yeah, I like
but-
that scene with Karen Gillan and The Rock being awkward teenagers making out for the first time. That was like, this is fine.
Did they make out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that-
I
that's
Well,
what
he's
you
sort of
want.
like,
They licked each other's faces.
yeah, it was just sort of like kind of stuff, and it was kind of. I was like, this is comedic. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was like, okay, this is kind of funny because you have the juxtaposition of like, oh look, sexy, cool adult bodies acting like non-sexually experienced teenagers. That's like kind of fun. And I was like, they're acting that well, and Shay was like, no one has done anything wrong. This is a script problem.
Well, they signed up to the film. That's what they did
Yeah.
wrong. But the acting's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fine actors.
Or did they do right because they're gonna make a lot of money? And
Oh,
no
they're
one
gonna
cares.
make loads of money, and they got a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah, so
Or the
really,
Lost
they
Islands.
fucking made a great decision, and we made a bad decision.
There will almost definitely be a sequel as well.
Oh yeah,
Because
it's
like they've.
tagged.
Yeah, no, they've. Oh, is it tagged at the end?
Well, no, I mean it's Jumanji.
Oh,
Welcome to
right,
the
yeah.
jungle.
No, I just mean in the sense that like when I saw the first trailer, I was just like, oh, so this is setting up for what could be a cool sequel, but not a good first film because it's like you're going into the game, so the sequel is the game's coming out.
Well, they
But it's just
Yeah.
Well, next, because at the end of this film, they destroy the video game with a bowling ball. So
That-
then they
No,
have
no,
to
no.
bowl.
They didn't
no.
destroy the video
They
game.
destroyed the video game
console.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Also,
game.
but
the
I'd
original
love to see
box
them
of the
bowl.
board game still existed.
Yeah.
Why did the original box of the board game still exist?
'Cause
And it was just opened, like just.
Well, the box didn't. The box, as far as you can tell from the transformation sequence, it's not the box that has any intrinsic magic. It's the board, and the board converted itself into a cartridge. So
I
the
don't
magic is in the
accept that.
cartridge.
And they didn't destroy it. That was
No, they just crushed the
That's
console.
something that they came up with. I do not accept it.
Fair enough.
Can I talk about, like, throughout the film I was going,
I heard you.
and then just like, there was just one big scene that just made me like crawl into my legs and cry and
I
die.
think, yeah.
Which scene was that?
Oh,
Jay?
wow.
Please share.
That could have been any of them.
I can think of two.
There was a
I've got
specific
two.
one where he needed
Um,
physically comforting from Nick.
Karen Gillan's like character, whatever her name is,
Ruby Roundhouse.
Ruby Roundhouse,
Strong name.
and the real teenage girl is like Molly, who's like
Bethany.
Martha.
Martha, the
No,
like.
no. Bethany was the
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah,
girl.
no, but Ruby
Not-
Roundhouse's real character name
Oh,
is
right,
Martha.
sorry.
Not
Martha.
that Colin Hanks remembers at the end and shits on the entire point of the film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Sorry,
But
go
anyway,
on.
Martha, air quotes, the not pretty one,
Yeah.
air quotes, has to learn that, her value is in her body. When she has to distract some guards, she's like, I can't do it, I don't know how to flirt with my body. And then Jack Black has to teach her how to move her female body in sexy ways, because that's the only thing she's good for. And if
I
you don't
didn't
have
see
a,
anything objectionable at all in that whole sequence. The thing that
And also it points to another problem, when in films, they think, a strong female character, it's not actually a person with a character, it's just someone who can kick a lot of ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
So
literally
it's like,
are, like
the
strong.
two worst things is just someone to objectify and a badass
butt
fighter.
kicker. Yeah.
All rolled into one scene.
I mean, the thing I found bewildering about that scene is I'm like, okay, so she needs to distract them. There's two guys, and she basically uses her not sexy walk to get close. And then instead of just kicking the shit out of them, which she proceeded to later do, she persisted with the sexy dancing because...
Oh, and then after she kicked her ass, then she was able to do the sexy walk because she felt like a confident woman.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't notice that.
Racy, is
It's
that
kinda
is that how you
Weirdly
express
focused
your
on a bum.
confidence?
What?
It was shot weirdly focused on her bum.
Oh,
She was-
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
sure.
I think
okay.
that was the point that I said this is a kid. This is
Yeah,
supposed
this
to be a
is-
kids' film.
It's what kids are learning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was. Yeah, it was horrible. It was when she started dancing literally on them
Yeah.
before she started dance fighting. I was just like, this is we're in there, yes, and granted the audience isn't that young in that film.
Well, it's a
But,
12A.
like, yeah, but like
Is there a
12A.
12A?
Yeah.
Oh, they do
12A.
say shit, I
And
guess. So.
bitch. Zoology,
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah.
Zoology bitch.
12A's a pretend rating. It only actually has one practical use, which is when like it's kids under 12 with kids over 12 but still under 18.
How
That's
old
when
were
they can't get in.
How old were the characters meant to be?
I don't know. American
17
high
or
school.
18?
Then American high school, yeah.
Yeah, maybe 16 or 17 then.
Yeah. Okay, that's all right.
Not
That
old enough.
it did feel a bit weird that like the whole thing of Jonas Man and
Romance.
Jack Black
Yeah.
is that the thing is Jonas Man for all his like stoked. I'm like, you've been in this game for 20 fucking years.
Yeah.
You've experienced 20 years of life. You're in like
That
a,
was
No,
the-
he hadn't. The time was different. In the game, he had only experienced like a few months.
That's
But
what's
also, how old
that's
was
what's
he
stupid
originally?
though, because like why does Alan Parrish age in the original? Like that's about the
Yeah.
same amount of time, and it's
Yeah.
like also I hated that reference to like
Yeah.
him building that house
Yeah.
because it is a different game
Yeah.
and it like functions differently. So it made
Also, you know, in the original, when time gets reverted back,
mm,
the Kirsten Dunst and the other kid completely forget
yeah.
what happened.
That's the thing. I turned to you as well at that point as well. And I was like, this isn't how time works. It's not how time works just in general in terms of like the laws of time travel, but also just in the laws of Jumanji as well. It just doesn't. It was just like.
Are we quibbling about the time travel
No, I just
mechanics
mean,
of Jumanji?
Partly, but like I just mean like if you suddenly put like this house and like this happy family back into it after 20 for like 20 years. 20 years later, it's going to be different. Like it's
Yeah,
supposed to
butterfly
be
effect,
small town
bro.
America.
Oh yeah, quick thing. There's a romance between like 17-year-old girl and soon-to-be 39-year-old man, and then at the end he's like, "Oh hey, I recognize you just instinctively. You're
Mm.
Bethany, right?
Yeah, how did he
Oh,
work
we had
that
a
shit
romance,
out?
right? And
Yeah.
I named my firstborn kid after."
The
girl
girl
who-
that saved
That's
my
what-
life.
I hated that entire conversation. It should have kind of just been like a kind of vague look of
Like a
recognition.
nod, like
because
maybe
like
a-
sensing
hey.
that like, oh, those kids are looking at me weird, but like they didn't look anything like that in the game, and that again was part of like the big part of the plot. So just like kind of have like a feeling that like have some
Yeah,
fucking
it's
subtlety.
been 20 years for
Yeah.
him. It wasn't yesterday. He lived his whole fucking life.
What I will say on the romance side of it as well, I was really disturbingly creeped out by like the whole like naming his daughter thing and whatnot. But like in its defense, it did stress that like the attraction was more just on like her to him than him to her. So it wasn't.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't technically
that's- I get-
paedophilic,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was-
yeah.
It was mostly there for Jack Black to make dick jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Weird
but-
erections.
Oh, that erection joke! I was just like, oh boy. I think I said Christ quite loudly.
I'm
when that
genuinely
happened.
surprised they had the restraint to not show it.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna get like just a
A little,
Yeah.
like,
No.
a little...
And that's probably
Yeah.
where it goes to a 15.
yeah that
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet he
Implied
really
erection.
shot that and tried to get
I
it
don't know, what's Zoolander?
Well, Zoolander 12A didn't exist.
Uh,
True.
So I don't
Yeah.
know.
True.
Really?
I
Oh, wow.
it was just dull.
Yeah,
I
was
think
bored.
this was really a thing where I feel like the thing that hurt this movie more than anything, which I think we kind of already alluded to, but I want to just really emphatically say this, is that this movie felt like not only were the stakes incredibly low, because
There
they're
were
like
no stakes.
yeah, exactly, but you not only have like low to no stakes anyway, because it's like the fate of the world's not in the balance, the fate of small towns not in balance, it's the fate of these four people who we've met briefly and who all just come across as kind of ranging from inoffensive, which was Martha. She was just like, I don't want to do PE. That's my character. And then ranging all the way up to, I'm completely fucking vacuous, but apparently intelligent, but I don't care about people.
On Martha, can we also discuss that they didn't even know how to bury a lead on that, because like they set up that, oh, she doesn't want to throw, and then she's got the gem in her hand towards the end, and it's like that's the point where you give it some heart. have her sacrifice herself like when she's falling and
Like a
throw the thing instead, not just like hand it over.
Well, come on,
Anyway.
you're looking for like. But the thing was, and then you have the lives mechanic, which lowers the stakes even lower because you're like, well, you know, they're going to be fine for at least the first 2 deaths.
But they need to make sure we get that cake exploding joke in.
Which I didn't see. I was not in the
Yeah.
cinema for
Yeah.
I
it.
just genuinely lost track of how many lives each had as well. It was
no,
just
I
like
kept track.
Me too. I couldn't. I thought The Rock only had. I thought The Rock had 2 when he ended up having 1. Maybe I missed one of them.
He
but-
he got pushed
you
off a
came
cliff
just
once,
back in,
and then he
like,
got eaten
when...
by panthers.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah.
Then he had 1 left. I can't believe they forgot to yell Jumanji.
Also,
What the
on
fuck was that?
note-
It's just like,
on
they
that
were all
note,
like, oh right, Jumanji.
On the yelling of Jumanji, at no point did it say they had to be at the end of the game. They could have just saved
No,
the
they said
game.
they had to beat the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it said save.
No, you got to
Well, yeah,
save
you-
Jumanji
Save
and call its
Jumanji.
name. I'm putting the stone in it. It's like
okay.
that's
If
the
you
save
save-
Jumanji.
Yeah, granted, because you did have to shout it in the original as well.
Yeah.
He didn't shout, he whispered it softly.
Yeah, just low
Subtlety.
stakes characters who weren't very interesting and didn't really have great synergy meant what could have been like a sort of kind of funnish romp. Could have been, and I don't think this.
I was expecting fun when I went in.
Yeah,
I was
me too.
expecting to be offended by the fact that it was called Jumanji, but I was expecting fun.
Yeah,
I think we have a case of Flintstoning on our hands.
which is
Numerous writers come in.
oh, you did comment like 3
And
writers.
like I
right?
think
Like 4.
Flintstones has something like 20, but they're not allowed to say that amount. And the WGA at that point was like, no, there's a limit. And they had to make a rule of how many writers was allowed to be credited on a film because of the Flintstones.
There
This
was a
film-
separate story credit afterwards as well.
Yeah, so this film had a partnership, Chris McKenna and Eric Summers or something
Chris
like that.
McKenna?
Yeah, so they're the
Oh, that's
community
depressing.
writers. They're the first people who did the first set of drafts, and then it was a different writing partnership. So you probably had a very quite tightly story circle film with the community writers, and then studio interference producers and a bunch more writers come in, constant reworking until it becomes a bland,
fucking bullshit.
dull, boring.
It was really, really dull.
Yeah.
No one really had any real arcs. Like
There was arcs set up.
Yeah, they were artificial arcs though, because it was just like the arc should have been that they don't actually need to care about any of the constructs that they've put on themselves, but all it actually became was just overcoming the constructs
And
that they put upon themselves.
Also, any arcs that did kind of complete weren't because something happened.
Yeah,
The scene just happened because they had to complete the arc.
yeah.
And the arc was boring to begin with.
Like the friendship arc, the love relationship arc.
I didn't get
Yeah.
why we were supposed to want to root for Spencer and Fridge to be friends again.
Yeah, I don't get why they were friends again
Spencer
at the
seems
end.
boring and lame. Like, no offense to gamer people, but he seemed really boring and afraid of the world. I'm like, well, can't blame people for wanting to move away from that if they want to, go out and do things. And Fridge seemed like a dick.
yeah.
He kills him.
He literally pushed him off a cliff, and
So does the Rock though. He throws him to some rhinos.
I know,
later.
but that's kind of like in a
that was to accomplish a goal.
yeah.
Like,
He knew what he
Fridge
was
killed
doing,
Spencer
kind
out
of
of
way.
spite.
Like,
But he threw the slowest person out of the helicopter.
Yeah,
to
that,
run away
that
from the
one made
rhinos.
no sense.
Someone
like,
had to distract them albino rhinos.
Yeah, why
They
not
had an
as a
Apache
rule?
helicopter with guns on it.
Yeah.
I noticed that. Why didn't anyone use the fucking guns?
But like they were like making a circle and like he had a big backpack. Surely he had a rope in the backpack. Why didn't they just like lower the rock and rock just like?
Yeah, it's still running. I know it's still
Yeah,
running.
okay.
We've also got the backup, so it's
Oh,
fine.
we're-
You know,
oh, yeah,
yeah.
shit.
We're double
Sorry.
recording this motherfucker.
Yeah.
So anxious
that's-
after Justice League.
Yeah, you know.
I also want to point out on a second watching, I noticed that Jack Black dyed his hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's blondish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was enriching.
Price of entry right there. I feel like we've kind of got a lot of the poison out. Shall we
My
move?
weakness-
we've but we've defanged the film.
Oh, we have defanged a snake. So we'll now move to final thoughts. Morton, your final thoughts.
Exactly the same as the first. Like, now Zathura is not the worst film in this canon.
Is the third part of the Jumanji canon?
It's
Yeah.
Like
based
spiritual
on a book
sequel,
by the
right?
same writer.
But it's not in the same canon, in the same shared universe. Oh, that's
In a
term
se-
now
in a
film.
se-
the
shared
the Jumanji
Jumanji
cinematic universe.
For the purpose of this.
Oh,
it
what
is-
if they remade Zathura next? And it's just
No,
as
it
shit.
wasn't enough. There's no
No,
way.
come on, they're remaking fucking like Spider-Man all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
That's
like
different.
come
That's
on.
a legal thing.
What's
of,
another thing where they've
how
like
we
been
own the
remaking it
rights.
already? And they
There's Cluedo as well. That's another board game one. Oh, not Cluedo, Clue.
Yeah,
No, it's
Clue.
Cluedo in the UK, Clue
Yeah.
in America.
Ridley Scott was gonna make a Monopoly film.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Isn't that all the money in the world?
Shay, final thoughts, please.
Kevin Spacey goes to jail.
Is that your final thought on
Oh, no,
Jumanji,
sorry.
please?
No, sorry, that was following the Monopoly thing.
You heard it here first.
You've warmed Morton's heart this day.
Final four is, yeah, that's a kids' film. Doesn't have any of the good themes of the original of like losing family and kind of ironically coming together with a board game. And also it teaches lots of really terrible gendered bull crap, and is weirdly violent for a kids' film. Kids watch this. This is terrible. This is the world. Oh, it's a Christmas film.
It
Happy
is
Christmas.
a
Merry
Christmas
Christmas.
film
Christmas
out of
film.
nowhere.
Oh, Jesus.
No,
yeah.
just at the end.
Right at the end, I was like, why are there's oh, it's Christmas.
They probably realised it was going to be
Do you think they
released
reshot
in
that?
December and reshot it. Yeah.
I don't think they reshot it. I just think they crudely photoshopped some.
No. I'm fairly sure there were no Christmas decorations at the start
Yeah,
of the
there
film.
was no
in that
Christmas
town.
decorations.
There was no
There weren't.
indication.
It was just that shot at the end.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
That's what you get, kids.
EJ?
That's the film you deserve.
Yeah, I regret not sleeping longer. Yeah, that's my thoughts on this
Ouch.
film.
Racy.
Terrible.
Paddington 2 is still showing.
Oh. I don't know if there's a
kids should-
podcast in
No,
there.
no,
but-
no. Kids should go and watch that instead, not
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
you have till
Yeah, this is
Thursday.
the podcast.
I hope they are.
Yeah.
It's not like we've
This is a
sworn throughout.
12A podcast.
Listen, kids. Listen. You want to listen to your old Uncle Nick and the rest of the podcast crew? We'll steer you straight. We'll watch garbage and try and warn you not to do that. Oh, my final thoughts. Yeah. It was just, I'm bewildered that in 2018, well, technically 2017, right? This came out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah. Okay. So
it
in
came out.
2017, which is when this was made, someone
Why we
thought.
progressed so far.
Well, someone sat down with the computer, I assume, and wrote, and then Jack Black plays an annoying valley girl, and just thought that'll do. That's enough comedy for this movie. Because I don't know, maybe I'm being snooty or maybe I'm, too fucking highbrow for it, but I was just like, I don't think this joke is that funny. Like, Jack Black's a charismatic guy.
I gave up on counting them. I was trying to count them like we were saying at the start.
Yeah,
of, like
oh.
those jokes, but just
People laughed in the cinema.
Yeah,
but we didn't.
Well, but the thing is, I feel like it reminds me of a time when I went to see Tron Legacy with a friend of mine who will remain. Actually, he doesn't listen to the podcast. I went with my buddy Phil. Now, I like Phil. He's a good lad, but he's not what I would call like a film guy. He watches films, but he doesn't really know much about like the craft or anything. He doesn't really care about that, which is fine. He's into like video games and shit. In Tron Legacy, which is a ghastly film, there were bits.
I was going to say.
I'm joking.
Continue.
Yeah, there was a bit where like there were jokes, and he like laughed like really loudly next to me, and I sort of just remember looking and going, "Why? What?" and afterwards I asked him, I was like, "Did you really think that was funny?" He was like, "Not really, but you laugh." And I was like, and I realised it was a form of like social cueing that like this is clearly a point where you're supposed to laugh.
Oh yeah,
So
like
laugh.
it's like studio audiences where they have like those signs that like
Ba-ding.
yeah,
Yeah.
laugh now so that our TV audience will
The Rock's
laugh.
eyebrow is now that audience laugh signal.
I did. Oh, what I'll say one redeeming thing. I did quite like the smouldering intensity joke. That was all right.
It was okay the first
fine.
That was
few
okay.
times.
I was like, yeah, okay, this is fine. Anyway,
My final four.
Oh,
I promise,
gotta
I promise.
have more.
No, it's literally that, like, this for me is more pointless than Justice League. Because as you've just pointed out, it came out last year. So come the end of the year, having seen it in January, I can't even put it in my worst films of the year list.
Oh, I'm
Ooh.
so sorry. And on that bombshell, we will see you another time with another film. I've no idea what it'll be.
I was gonna say it was definitely
Tron
Oscar
Legacy?
worthy.
No, we're not going to watch Tron. I don't want to watch Tron Legacy again. Jesus Christ.
Just
someone...
watch Tron Safari.
We actually did! Oh, it is Tron Safari!